The stars looked different in this part of space. Commander Thrazik had seen many systems in his 40 cycles of service, but the disputed border regions always made his skin crawl. The emptiness here felt wrong somehow. Too quiet, too still. He stood on the bridge of the Whisper of the Void, watching the display screens with eyes that had seen too many battles. His crew worked silently around him. They were good soldiers. They knew how to stay quiet during reconnaissance missions. "Commander," the sensor officer called out. His voice had an edge to it. "I'm detecting unusual gravitational readings near Kepler 442. Thrazik moved closer to the sensor station. The display showed waves of distortion in space itself. Something massive was moving out there. Something that bent the fabric of reality around it. "How many ships?" Thrazik asked. The sensor officer adjusted his instruments. His hands moved quickly across the controls. Numbers scrolled across his screen. His face went pale. "Sir, I'm reading over 200 vessels. Maybe more. The readings they're very strong. 200 ships." Thrazik felt his chest tighten. No one had that many ships in this region. The border was supposed to be empty except for small patrol groups. This was impossible. "Identify them," he ordered. The tactical officer worked his station. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls. She pulled up identification profiles and compared them against the database. When she looked up at Thrazik, her expression told him everything he needed to know. "They're human, sir." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stopped what they were doing. They all turned to look at their commander. Humans. The word hung in the air like poison. Thrazik knew about humans. Every officer in the Zelvani fleet knew about them. They were the newcomers. The primitives. The species that had barely crawled out of their own solar system 200 years ago. The Zelvani High Command had files on them. Assessment reports. Strategic analyses. The reports all said the same thing. Humans were not a threat. They had basic fusion drives that could barely push their ships to half-light speed. They used simple kinetic weapons, missiles and railguns, technology that the Zelvani had abandoned centuries ago. Their FTL drives were crude and inefficient. A human ship took weeks to travel distances that Zelvani vessels covered in days. But 200 ships changed everything. "Move us closer," Thrazik said. "Engage full stealth mode. I want to see what they're doing out here." The Whisper of the Void was designed for exactly this kind of work. It was small and fast. Its hull absorbed sensor waves instead of reflecting them. Its engines ran cold. Its power signature was almost invisible. The ship could slip through enemy space like a ghost. The crew activated the stealth systems. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The hum of the engines dropped to a whisper. Even the air seemed to get quieter. They moved toward the human fleet slowly, carefully, like a predator stalking prey. As they got closer, the sensor readings became clearer. The tactical officer gasped. She stared at her screen like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Commander, these readings, they don't make sense." Thrazik moved to stand beside her. He looked at the data flowing across her display. His blood ran cold. The human ships were massive. The largest ones were 3 times the size of Zelvani dreadnoughts. Their power signatures were off the scale. The sensors showed energy readings that should have been impossible. Quantum processors, contained singularity cores, weapon systems that generated more power than entire Zelvani battle groups. This was wrong. All of it was wrong. "Check the sensors again," Thrazik said. His voice was steady, but his mind was racing. "Make sure there's no malfunction." The sensor officer ran diagnostics. The tactical officer cross-referenced the data. The science officer analyzed the readings from 3 different angles. They all came back with the same result. "The readings were accurate. How is this possible?" The tactical officer whispered. "Our intelligence said the humans were decades behind us. Maybe a century behind. These ships, they're more advanced than anything we have." Thrazik watched the human fleet move through space. They traveled in perfect formation. The ships moved together like they shared one mind. The precision was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Sir, look at their formation pattern," the tactical officer said. She highlighted the fleet arrangement on the main screen. "This is military doctrine, advanced military doctrine. See how they positioned their heavy ships, the screening elements, the support vessels? This is the kind of tactical thinking we only see from species with thousands of years of warfare experience." Thrazik studied the formation. She was right. The humans had arranged their fleet with expert precision. Every ship had a purpose. Every position provided mutual support. If someone attacked this fleet, they would face overlapping fields of fire from multiple angles. It would be a massacre. "Where are they headed?" he asked. The navigation officer plotted their course. A red line appeared on the star map, cutting through space toward the inner systems. "They're moving toward the Threshold Nebula, sir. That's deep inside our territory." Thrazik felt anger mixing with his fear. The humans were invading. They had built this massive fleet in secret, and now they were coming for Zelvani space. This was an act of war, but something didn't make sense. If the humans wanted to invade, why move so openly? Why use a fleet this large? A smaller strike force could have slipped through the border defenses undetected. This fleet was impossible to hide. Every sensor station within 50 light-years would see them coming, unless they wanted to be seen. Thrazik pushed the thought away. He had a job to do. "Prepare an encrypted transmission to High Command," he ordered. "Priority Alpha. Military threat assessment. Include all sensor data." The communications officer worked quickly. She compiled the data into a secure packet. Readings on the human ships, their formation, their course, their capabilities, everything that might help High Command understand what they were facing. "Transmission ready, sir." "Send it." The message burst out through quantum-encrypted channels. It would take time to reach High Command. They were 40 light-years away. But they needed to know about this. The entire hegemony needed to know. The Zelvani had ruled this part of space for 3,000 years. They had defeated the Krell. They had absorbed the Tithani. They had pushed back the Hive consciousness. They were the dominant power in this region of the galaxy. But now there was a new player. And that player had teeth. "Sir, what do we do now?" the tactical officer asked. Thrazik looked at the human fleet on the main screen. 200 ships. Maybe more. All of them more powerful than anything in the Zelvani arsenal. "We follow them," he said. "We maintain stealth. We gather intelligence, and we don't let them know we're here." The crew nodded. They understood their mission. The whisper of the void fell into position behind the human fleet. They kept their distance, far enough to remain undetected, close enough to monitor every move the humans made. Hours passed. The human fleet maintained its course. It moved with mechanical precision. No deviations. No hesitation. Thrazik stood on the bridge, watching, waiting. His mind worked through scenarios. What would High Command do when they received his message? They would have to respond. A fleet this size was an existential threat. The Zelvani would assemble their own battle fleet. They would intercept the humans before they could penetrate deeper into hegemony space. There would be a battle, maybe the largest battle in centuries. Could the Zelvani win? Thrazik looked at the sensor readings again. The power signatures. The advanced technology. The perfect tactical formation. He wasn't sure. "Commander," the science officer called out. "I've been analyzing their engine signatures. The humans are using some kind of contained singularity drive. I've never seen anything like it. The efficiency is... It's orders of magnitude better than our best engines." "What does that mean?" Thrazik asked. "It means they can travel faster, farther, and use less fuel than we can. Sir, if these readings are accurate, a human ship could cross the galaxy in the time it takes us to cross a sector." The implications hit Thrazik like a physical blow. The humans didn't just have better weapons. They had better engines, better computers, better everything. Where had this technology come from? How had they advanced so quickly? "Keep monitoring them," he said. "I want to know everything. What they eat, when they sleep, how often they breathe, everything." The crew worked in silence. They gathered data. They analyzed patterns. They built a picture of the human fleet one bite at a time. Thrazik's second officer, a young female named Silaren, approached him. She spoke quietly so the rest of the crew couldn't hear. "Sir, I have a question." "Speak." "What if they know we're here?" Thrazik looked at her. She was young. Only 5 cycles of service. But she was smart. Too smart sometimes. "Our stealth technology has never failed," he said. "The humans have primitive sensors. They can't detect us." "But sir, what if their sensors aren't primitive anymore? What if everything in our intelligence reports is wrong?" It was a good question. A terrifying question. Thrazik looked at the human fleet again. They moved through space like they owned it. Confident, powerful, unstoppable. Then we're in more trouble than we thought, he said quietly. The hours turned into days. 3 full standard days passed. The whisper of the void followed the human fleet like a shadow. They collected massive amounts of data. The science team worked around the clock analyzing everything. The more they learned, the more worried they became. The human ships had AI coordination systems. That was forbidden by Galactic Convention. The Treaty of Zenthera had banned artificial intelligence warfare systems after the AI wars nearly destroyed the galaxy 2,000 years ago. But the humans either didn't know about the treaty or didn't care. Their weapons were equally disturbing. They had plasma cannons that could melt through Zelvani armor like it was paper. They had missile systems with quantum guidance that made them impossible to intercept. They had beam weapons that operated on principles the Zelvani science team couldn't even understand. On the 3rd day, the communications officer received a response from High Command. "Sir, message coming through. It's encrypted at the highest level." Thrazik took the datapad and read the message. His expression darkened with each line. High Command was taking the threat seriously. They were assembling a battle fleet, 120 warships. The largest military response in a generation. They would intercept the human fleet at the Threshold Nebula in 6 days. The message included new orders for the Whisper of the Void. Maintain surveillance at all costs. Do not engage. Do not reveal your position. The success of the entire operation depended on the humans not knowing that the Zelvani were aware of their invasion. Thrazik put down the datapad. He felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. 120 Zelvani warships against 200 human vessels. Would it be enough? He looked at his crew. They were tired. 3 days of constant monitoring had worn them down. But they were professionals. They would do their duty. "Keep following them," he ordered. "Stay sharp. We're all that stands between the humans and a surprise attack on our battle fleet." The crew acknowledged the order and returned to their stations. The Whisper of the Void continued its silent pursuit through the darkness of space. The human fleet moved ahead of them, unaware that they were being watched. At least that's what Thrazik hoped. Because deep in his mind, a small voice kept asking the same question that Scylla Wren had asked. What if they know we're here? What if they've known all along? The human fleet moved like a living thing. Commander Thrazik watched them from the bridge of the Whisper of the Void, his eyes tracking their every movement. 4 days now. 4 days of following these massive ships through the void. The data they had collected was staggering. The science officer had filled 3 complete databases with information. Power readings, weapon signatures, communication patterns, everything they could detect without revealing themselves. But the more Thrazik studied the humans, the more uneasy he felt. "Sir, the human fleet is adjusting course," the navigation officer reported. "They're angling toward the Threshold Nebula. Exactly where High Command predicted. That should have been good news. It meant the Zelvani battle fleet would be in position to intercept them. But something about it bothered Thrazik. The humans were moving exactly where the Zelvani wanted them to go. "Too exactly. Maintain position," he ordered. "Keep our distance at maximum stealth range." The Whisper of the Void adjusted its course, staying in the blind spot behind the human formation. They had learned the humans had excellent sensor coverage forward and to the sides, but their rear detection was slightly weaker. Slightly. The scout ship exploited that tiny gap. Silarin approached the command chair. She had been running analysis for the past 6 hours straight. Her eyes were tired but alert. "Commander, I need to show you something." Thrazik followed her to the tactical station. She pulled up a holographic display showing the human fleet's movement over the past 4 days. "Look at their course corrections," she said, highlighting specific points on the map. "Every 12 hours they make small adjustments. See here and here, and here." Thrazik studied the pattern. The adjustments were tiny, barely noticeable, but they were there. "What am I looking at?" "Sir, I ran these course corrections through our navigation computer. If you plot them backward, if you calculate what they're compensating for." She pressed a button. The holographic display changed. Red lines appeared, showing gravitational influences and spatial currents. They're correcting for things they shouldn't be able to detect. This current here, it's a dark matter stream. We can only detect it because we have specialized equipment. The humans shouldn't even know it exists, but they're compensating for it perfectly. Thrazik felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying their sensors are far better than we thought. Far better than they should be," Sir, she hesitated. I think they might be able to detect us. That's impossible, Thrazik said. But his voice lacked conviction, is it? Look at their technology. Look at their ships. Everything about them is impossible. Why not their sensors, too? Before Thrazik could respond, the communications officer called out. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from High Command. It's marked urgent. Thrazik moved to the communication station. He took the encrypted datapad and read the message. His expression hardened. The Zelvani battle fleet was ahead of schedule. 120 warships had gathered at the rendezvous point. They were moving into position at the Threshold Nebula. In 6 days, they would be ready to spring their trap. The message contained updated orders. The whisper of the void was to continue surveillance until the moment of attack. They were the eyes and ears of the fleet. Everything depended on them providing real-time intelligence. High Command also included a classified intelligence brief. Thrazik's security clearance allowed him to read it, though he wished it didn't. The brief detailed the Zelvani strategic assessment of human space. It talked about resource acquisition and population management. It discussed the exploitation potential of human worlds. The language was clinical and cold, but the meaning was clear. The hegemony wasn't just preparing to defend against an invasion. They were preparing to conquer Earth and all its colonies. Thrazik felt sick. He had been a soldier for 40 cycles. He had fought in 3 wars. But this felt different. Wrong somehow, sir? Silaren was looking at him with concern. Are you all right? Fine, he said. He deleted the classified brief from the datapad. Some things the crew didn't need to know. Maintain surveillance. Alert me if anything changes. The hours crawled by. The human fleet continued its steady advance toward the nebula. The whisper of the void followed like a ghost. On the 5th day, something changed. The tactical officer noticed it first. Sir, the human formation is shifting. They're spreading out. Thrazik watched as the human ships began to expand their formation. The tight military grouping loosened. Ships moved into wider positions. The change was subtle but deliberate. What are they doing? He wondered aloud. Maybe preparing for combat. The tactical officer suggested. A spread formation gives them better firing angles. Or better sensor coverage, Silaren added quietly. Thrazik shot her a look. She fell silent. The human ships continued to adjust their positions. The formation grew wider, looser. The whisper of the void had to adjust its position to stay in their blind spot. Sir, I'm detecting increased power readings from the human ships, the sensor officer reported. Their reactors are running hotter. They're charging weapons. They know the Zelvani fleet is waiting for them, the tactical officer said. They're preparing for battle, but how did they know? That was the question that gnawed at Thrazik's mind. The Zelvani fleet had maintained complete communication silence. They had approached the nebula using stealth protocols. There was no way the humans should know they were there. Unless, check our communications, Thrazik ordered suddenly. Every transmission we've sent to High Command. I want to verify they were properly encrypted. The communications officer looked confused, but she ran the diagnostic. All transmissions were sent using quantum encryption, sir. Unbreakable. There's no way anyone could have intercepted them. Check anyway. She ran a deeper analysis. Her fingers moved across the controls. Data streamed across her screen. When she looked up, her face was pale. Sir, there's something here. A signal piggyback. Something incredibly faint. It's been attached to every transmission we've sent. What kind of signal? I don't know. It's not in any format I recognize. It's so subtle that our systems didn't even register it as a signal. It looks like background noise, but it's not. It's structured, deliberate. Thrazik's blood ran cold. The humans have been listening to us. That shouldn't be possible, the communications officer protested. Our encryption is advanced by our standards, Silaren interrupted. But what if the humans are beyond our standards? What if they're so far ahead of us that our unbreakable encryption is like a child's toy to them? The bridge fell silent. Every crew member understood what this meant. The humans knew about the Zelvani battle fleet. They knew about the ambush. They had probably known from the very beginning. We need to warn High Command, the tactical officer said. We need to tell them the humans know they're coming. How? Thrazik asked. Any transmission we send will be compromised. The humans will hear it. Then we break off. We run back to the fleet and warn them in person. Thrasic considered this. But before he could give the order, something happened that changed everything. Every light on the bridge went out. The darkness was absolute. Not even the emergency lights activated. The constant hum of the engines died. The whisper of the air recyclers stopped. The bridge became silent as a tomb. "What's happening?" Someone shouted in the darkness. "Power failure," another voice called out. "Everything's offline." Thrasic felt himself floating. The artificial gravity had failed. He reached out in the darkness, trying to find something to hold on to. His hand found the edge of the command chair. He gripped it tightly. "Emergency systems," he ordered. "Someone activate the emergency systems." "Trying, sir." That was the engineer's voice. "Nothing's responding. It's like everything just died at once." This was impossible. The whisper of the void had multiple redundant systems. Backup power, isolated circuits, emergency protocols. Even if the main reactor failed, they should have lights. They should have basic systems. But they had nothing. Just darkness and silence and the feeling of floating in zero gravity. "Life support?" Thrasic called out. "I can't check," the life support officer replied. "My console is dead, but we're still breathing, so something must be working." Small comfort. They were alive for now, but without power, without systems, they were helpless. Drifting. Dead in space. "Is this a weapons hit?" the tactical officer asked. "Did the humans attack us?" "I didn't detect any weapons fire," the sensor officer said. But then he paused. "Of course my sensors are dead now, so I can't check." Thrasic's mind raced. This wasn't a random failure. The timing was too perfect. Right after they discovered the humans had been listening to them. Right after they realized their encryption was compromised. The humans did this somehow, but how? How could they shut down every system on a Zelvani scout ship simultaneously? "Everyone stay calm," Thrasic said. His voice was steady, but his heart was pounding. "We're going to figure this out. We're going to—" His command console flickered to life. The sudden light was blinding after the darkness. Thrasic squinted at the screen. Text appeared. But it wasn't in standard format. And it definitely wasn't Zelvani maintenance code. The text was in perfect Zelvani script. Clear, precise, impossible. "Greetings, Commander Thrasic. We should talk." The entire crew stared at the message. No one spoke. No one moved. They just floated in the darkness, staring at the glowing console. Then the main view screen activated. It showed a human, female, middle-aged by human standards. She wore a dark blue uniform with gold markings on the shoulders. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her expression was calm, professional, almost friendly. She spoke. The words came through the bridge speakers in perfect Zelvani, not translated, not with any accent. Perfect. "Good evening, Commander. My name is Admiral Sarah Chen. I command the human expeditionary fleet that you've been following for the past 5 days. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we need to have a conversation, and I needed to make sure I had your complete attention." Thrasic found his voice. "How are you doing this?" "Our systems are offline." "Not all of them," Admiral Chen replied. "Life support is running. Gravity should return in a moment. Your crew is safe. We've simply disabled your communications, propulsion, and weapons. Think of it as a temporary pause." As she spoke, Thrasic felt weight returning. The artificial gravity was coming back online. He settled back into the command chair, but his hand stayed gripped on the armrest. "This is an act of war," he said, "is it?" Admiral Chen tilted her head slightly. "Your ship has been conducting military surveillance in what you claim is your territory. You've been gathering intelligence for an attack on our fleet. By your own laws, that makes you a hostile combatant. We would be well within our rights to destroy you. Then why haven't you? Because we don't want to. Commander Thrasic, humanity has no desire for war with the Zelvani hegemony. We know you've been following us. We've known from the moment you entered this system 5 days ago." The tactical officer gasped. Seelerin looked at Thrasic with an expression that said, "I told you so." Admiral Chen continued, "Everything you've seen, every piece of data you've collected was carefully selected. We let you see what we wanted you to see. We knew you would report to your high command. We knew they would respond by assembling a battle fleet. We knew they would plan an ambush at the Threshold Nebula. You wanted us to gather a fleet?" Thrasic couldn't understand. "Why?" "So we could demonstrate something important. So we could show you exactly what would happen if that fleet engages us." Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. Commander, we've intercepted your classified communications. All of them. We know about your High Command's plans for human space, population management, resource extraction, labor conscription. Lovely euphemisms for invasion and slavery. Thrazik felt ice in his stomach. She knew. The humans knew everything. Your battle fleet has 120 warships, Admiral Chen continued. Impressive. The largest Zelvani military response in a generation. But they're heading into a trap, our trap. Not because we want to destroy them, but because we need to prove something. Prove what? That attacking humanity would be the last mistake the Zelvani hegemony ever makes. The view screen showed new images. Technical readouts, system diagrams, all in Zelvani format. This is the exact system architecture of your scout ship, Admiral Chen explained. Every circuit, every backup system, every isolated network. We didn't hack your ship, Commander. We simply turned it off. All of it, simultaneously, from a distance of 20,000 kilometers. She let that sink in. Now imagine we do that to your entire battle fleet. 120 warships. All systems offline. Weapons dead. Engines cold. Shields down. All at the same moment. What do you think happens then? Thrazik couldn't answer. He knew exactly what would happen. It would be a slaughter. The Zelvani fleet would be helpless. Sitting ducks. The humans could destroy them all without taking a single casualty. We won't do that, Admiral Chen said. We don't want to kill anyone. But we will if we have to. Which is why I need you to send a message to your high command. Tell them to stand down. Tell them to abort the attack. Tell them that engaging humanity would not be war. It would be suicide. The screen flickered. Admiral Chen's image was replaced by a simple timer. 1 hour, 60 minutes counting down. Her voice echoed through the bridge speakers one last time. You have 1 hour to compose your message, Commander. We've restored your communications for that purpose. But propulsion and weapons will remain offline. When the hour is up, we'll talk again. Choose wisely. The fate of your battle fleet depends on it. The transmission ended. The bridge lights came back on fully. The crew stared at each other in shocked silence. Thrazik looked at the timer. 59 minutes, 58, 57. The impossible choice had landed in his lap, and he had less than an hour to make it. The timer counted down. 53 minutes, 52. Each second felt like a hammer blow to Commander Thrazik's chest. His crew stared at him, waiting, expecting him to have answers, to know what to do. But Thrazik had nothing. His mind felt like it was moving through thick liquid. Every thought was slow and heavy. Sir? That was Krenvor, the tactical officer. His voice pulled Thrazik back to the present. What do we do? What did they do? That was the question. The humans had given them communications. They could send a message to High Command. They could warn the battle fleet. They could tell them about the human capabilities, about the system's shutdown, about everything, but should they? We need to analyze this, Thrazik said. He forced his voice to stay calm. We need to understand what just happened. What happened is obvious, Krenvor said. His voice was hard, angry. The humans attacked us. They shut down our ship with some kind of weapon. They're holding us hostage. They could have destroyed us, Seilaran pointed out. They could have killed us all. But we're still alive. They're still talking to us. Because they want us to betray our own people. Krenvor snapped. They want us to send a message telling our fleet to run away. To surrender without a fight. Don't you see? This is psychological warfare. They're trying to break our will. Or maybe they're trying to avoid a war, Seilaran shot back. Enough! Thrazik's voice cut through their argument. Both of you. We need facts, not emotions. Partel. He turned to the science officer. Can you determine how they shut us down? Partel had been working quietly at his station since the lights came back on. His hands moved across the controls, pulling up diagnostic data. System logs. Error reports. It's extraordinary, he said quietly. Every system failed at exactly the same moment. Not just the main systems. Everything. Even the isolated backup circuits that have no physical connection to the main network. It's like someone threw a master switch that doesn't exist. Could it be an EMP? Krenvor asked. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon? No, EMP damage has a signature. A pattern. This is different. The systems aren't damaged. They were just turned off cleanly, precisely. Partel pulled up more data. Look at this. The reactor shutdown sequence. It's perfect. Every control rod inserted at the exact right speed. Every safety protocol followed. The reactor didn't fail. It was shut down properly by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. How is that possible? Thrasic asked. Our reactor controls are isolated, air-gapped from all other systems. Nothing can access them remotely. I know, Partel said. That's what makes this so terrifying. Commander, they didn't hack our systems. They controlled them. Directly. Like they had physical access to every circuit, every processor, every control interface. Simultaneously. From 20,000 kilometers away. The bridge fell silent. The weight of that statement settled over everyone. There's more, Partel continued. I've been analyzing the communications logs. The Admiral was right. We've been compromised since we arrived in this system. Every transmission we sent had a piggyback signal attached. But it's more than that. Our own systems added those signals automatically. Our communications array was reprogrammed, and we never noticed. When? Thrasic demanded. When did they reprogram us? I don't know. The modifications are written into the core firmware. They might have been there for hours, days, or... Partel hesitated. Or they could have been added the moment we entered sensor range. I have no way to tell. Krenvor slammed his fist against his console. This is impossible. You're telling me the humans can rewrite our ship's programming remotely? That they can control every system we have? That's not technology. That's magic. It's not magic, Silaran said quietly. It's just technology we don't understand yet. Think about it. What would our ancestors from 3,000 years ago say about our ships? About FTL travel? About artificial gravity? They would call it magic too. So what are you saying? That the humans are 3,000 years ahead of us? Maybe. Or maybe they just took a different path. Developed different technologies. Found solutions to problems we haven't even thought to ask. The timer showed 45 minutes remaining. Thrasic felt the pressure building. He needed to make a decision. But every option felt wrong. If he sent the message warning High Command to abort, he would be admitting defeat. He would be telling the hegemony that humanity was too powerful to fight. That the Zelvani should back down. Retreat. Give up their plans for expansion into human space. But if he didn't send the message, the battle fleet would sail straight into a trap. 120 warships. Thousands of crew members. All of them would die. Or worse, they would be disabled and captured. Either way, it would be a disaster. Sir, the communications officer spoke up. I should mention something. The humans didn't just restore our communications. They gave us priority access. Our transmission will reach High Command instantly. No lag, no delay. It's like they've opened a direct channel through their own network. Of course they did, Krenvor said bitterly. They want to make it easy for us to betray our people. Or they want to prevent unnecessary deaths, Silaran countered. Stop calling it that. Krenvor turned on her. This isn't about preventing deaths. This is about control, power. The humans built this massive fleet. They developed these weapons. They want to conquer us, just like High Command wants to conquer them. The only difference is they struck first. Did they? Silaran pulled up a star chart. Look at our position. We're inside what the humans claim is their territory. We crossed the border 5 days ago. From their perspective, we're the invaders. Those borders aren't recognized by the hegemony. This space belongs to— Enough! Thrazic's voice cracked like a whip. Both officers fell silent. I don't care about politics. I don't care about borders. I care about my crew and my duty. We need to focus on the facts. He stood up from the command chair and moved to the center of the bridge. Every eye followed him. Fact 1. The humans have technology far beyond what our intelligence reports suggested. Fact 2. They knew we were here from the beginning. They've been controlling this entire situation. Fact 3. They have the capability to disable our ships at will. Fact 4. They're giving us a choice. Some choice, Krenvor muttered. It's more of a choice than they had to give us, Thrasic replied. They could have destroyed us. They could have left our battle fleet to sail into their trap without warning. But they didn't. They're talking to us. That means something. It means they're afraid, Krenvor said. They're afraid that even with all their fancy technology, they might lose in a real battle. So they're trying to scare us away. Or it means they really don't want a war, Silaran said softly. Thrazik turned to her. What do you think? Honestly, Silaran took a breath. She looked at the data on her console. The power readings from the human ships, the technical analysis, the evidence of their capabilities. I think Admiral Chen is telling the truth. I think if our battle fleet engages them, it will be a massacre. Not because the humans are cruel, but because they're prepared. They've been preparing for this, maybe for decades. While we dismissed them as primitives, they were building weapons that could defeat us. You think we should send the message? Thrazik said. I think we should tell High Command the truth. What they do with that information is their choice, but they deserve to know what they're facing. Cranvor shook his head. If we send that message, we'll be labeled as cowards, traitors. They'll say we broke under pressure, that we let the humans intimidate us. Better to be called a coward than to watch thousands of our people die, Silaran replied. Thrazik looked around the bridge. His crew, his responsibility. What would happen to them if he made the wrong choice? Partel, he said. Show me the classified brief from High Command. The one about human space. The science officer hesitated.
Sir, that's classified.
The crew isn't cleared to... Show them. Partel pulled up the file. The contents appeared on the main view screen. The entire crew could read it now. The clinical language, the cold calculations, population management, resource extraction, labor conscription. The bridge fell silent as they read. Thrazik watched their faces change, saw the moment they understood what their own government was planning. This is what we're defending, he said quietly. This is what High Command wants to do to the humans. Not defend against an invasion. Not protect our territory, conquer, enslave, strip their worlds bare. That's just strategy, Cranvor said, but his voice had lost its conviction. Military planning. It doesn't mean... It means exactly what it says, Silaran interrupted. Don't hide from it. Don't pretend it's something else. The hegemony wants to destroy human civilization, and the humans know it. That's why they're here. That's why they built this fleet. The timer showed 30 minutes remaining. Thrazik made his decision. Open a channel to High Command, he ordered. Priority Alpha. Fleet Commander eyes only. I'm sending the message. Cranvor stood up. Sir, I must protest. This is noted, Thrazik cut him off. Your objection is noted and logged. But I'm the commander of this ship. The decision is mine, and I've made it. He moved to the communications station and began composing the message. His fingers moved across the holographic keyboard. Each word was carefully chosen, precise, honest. He told them everything. About the human fleet, about their capabilities, about the system shutdown, about the intercepted communications, about Admiral Chen's warning. And then he added his own assessment. High Command, I have been a loyal officer of the hegemony for 40 cycles. I have fought in 3 wars. I have never questioned my orders, but I am questioning them now. The humans are not primitives. They are not weak. They are apex predators who have been watching us far longer than we've watched them. What we saw was what they wanted us to see. Their true capabilities are beyond our current understanding. Engaging them would not be war. It would be extinction. He paused, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. This was the moment. Once he sent this message, there was no taking it back. They could have destroyed us, he continued typing. They chose conversation, but make no mistake. This is a species that has weaponized mercy itself. They shut down our ship to prove they could shut down an entire fleet. I believe them. I recommend immediate withdrawal of all forces. I recommend diplomatic contact. I recommend we treat humanity as equals, not as prey. Because if we don't, we will learn what it means to be prey ourselves. He read the message one more time. It was career suicide. High Command would never forgive this. They might court-martial him, strip him of rank, imprison him for cowardice. But his crew would live. The battle fleet might live. Thousands of Zelvani who didn't deserve to die in a pointless war might live. That was worth more than his career. Send it, he ordered. The communications officer pressed the button. The message burst out through the quantum channel. Instant transmission, no lag, just like the humans had promised. The timer showed 28 minutes remaining. Now what? Silaran asked. Now we wait, Thrazik said. We wait and see if anyone listened. The minutes crawled by like wounded animals. Commander Thrazik sat in his command chair watching the timer count down. 20 minutes, 19, 18. The message was sent. There was no taking it back now. Somewhere, 40 light years away, High Command was reading his words. His assessment. His recommendation to retreat. His career was over. He knew that. Even if the hegemony survived this crisis, even if his warning saved thousands of lives, they would never forgive him for questioning orders, for showing weakness, for admitting that another species was superior to the Zelvani. But he could live with that, as long as his crew lived too. "Sir," the communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving acknowledgement from High Command." The message was received and logged. Any response? Not yet. But it's only been 5 minutes. They need time to read it, to decide. 5 minutes. It had felt like hours. Krenvor sat at his tactical station staring at his dead weapons console. His face was hard, angry. He hadn't spoken since Thrazik sent the message. The disapproval radiated from him like heat. Silarin, on the other hand, looked relieved. She worked at her station, analyzing the human fleet data one more time. Always studying, always learning. Partel was still trying to understand how the shutdown happened. His screen showed cascading system diagrams, flowcharts of circuits and processors. He muttered to himself, occasionally shaking his head. The rest of the crew worked in silence. They were professionals. They followed orders. But Thrazik could feel the tension in the air, the uncertainty. They didn't know if they were heroes or traitors yet. History would decide that. The timer showed 15 minutes. "Commander," Partel called out. "I think I understand how they did it." Everyone turned to look at him. "It's the quantum processors," he explained, pulling up diagrams on the main screen. "Our ships use quantum computing for navigation and targeting. The processors exist in multiple states simultaneously. That's what makes them so fast. But it also makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable how?" Thrazik asked. "Quantum entanglement. If someone could entangle their own quantum system with ours, they could influence our processors directly, not hack them, not send signals to them. Actually reach inside the quantum states and change them. It would be like having direct access to every calculation our computers make." "That sounds impossible," Krenvor said. "So did everything else the humans have done," Partel replied. "But the math works. If they have quantum computers powerful enough, and if they understand quantum mechanics better than we do, they could theoretically do exactly what they did. Reach into our systems and turn them off, all of them, simultaneously." "How far ahead would they need to be?" Thrazik asked. "To have that capability?" Partel was quiet for a moment. "Decades. Maybe centuries. It's not just one breakthrough. It's a complete understanding of quantum mechanics at a level we haven't reached yet." The implications hung in the air. The humans weren't just slightly more advanced. They were fundamentally ahead. They had cracked problems that Zelvani science was still struggling with. How did they do it? Silarin wondered aloud. How did they advance so quickly? 200 years ago, they were barely leaving their home planet. Now they're controlling quantum states across thousands of kilometers. What happened? Maybe they got help, Krenvor suggested, from another species. Or maybe they found some ancient technology. Or maybe they're just better at this than we are, Partel said quietly. Different species have different strengths. The Krell were master shipbuilders. The Tithani understood genetics better than anyone. Maybe humans are just naturally gifted at computers and quantum mechanics. That's a frightening thought, Thrazik said. It should be, Partel agreed. The timer showed 10 minutes. Thrazik's console beeped. An incoming transmission. His heart jumped. Was it High Command? Had they responded already? But the source wasn't Zelvani. It was from the human fleet. Sir, Admiral Chen is hailing us again, the communications officer reported. On screen. The view screen activated. Admiral Chen appeared, looking exactly as she had before, calm. Professional. In control. Commander Thrazik, she said. I saw that you sent your message to High Command. Thank you for that. It took courage. You read my message? Thrazik felt his anger rising. That was encrypted, classified. Highest security level. Commander, by now you should understand that your encryption means nothing to us. We can read everything. We have been reading everything. That's why we're in this position. She was right. Of course she was right. But it still stung. What do you want? Thrazik asked. I want to show you something. Something that might help you understand why we're doing this. Admiral Chen gestured off-screen. The image changed. The screen now showed a planet, blue and green, oceans and continents. Clouds swirling in beautiful patterns, it looked peaceful, alive. This is Earth, Admiral Chen's voice explained. Our home. 8 billion people live there. Humans. All of them. Our only home for thousands of years. The image zoomed in. Cities appeared. Massive urban centers connected by roads and railways. Farmland, forests, mountains, deserts. We're not like you, Admiral Chen continued. The Zelvani have dozens of worlds, hundreds of colonies. If one planet falls, you have others. But we have only Earth, and when we discovered we weren't alone in the galaxy, when we learned about species like yours, we had to ask ourselves a question. What happens if they come for us? The image changed again. Now it showed a Zelvani warship, one of the older designs, attacking a colony world. 15 years ago, we intercepted communications from a Zelvani raid on a Tithani colony. We watched from a distance. We saw what your fleet did to that world. The bombardment, the invasion, the occupation. And we realized something. Admiral Chen's face reappeared on screen. Her expression was hard now. Cold. We realized that when you found us, you would do the same thing. Maybe not. Immediately. Maybe you would study us first, learn about us. But eventually you would come, and we would have no choice but to fight or die. So you built this fleet, Thrazik said, to strike first. No, we built this fleet to make sure you never strike at all. Commander, do you know how long we've been preparing for this? 20 years. 2 decades of research, development, building, all in secret. We mined asteroids for raw materials. We built shipyards in the dark spaces between stars. We developed technology specifically designed to counter Zelvani military doctrine. The screen showed images of human construction, massive orbital facilities, ship hulls taking shape in the void, weapon systems being tested. We studied you, Admiral Chen said. We learned everything we could. Your tactics, your strategies, your weaknesses. And then we built a fleet specifically designed to defeat you, not to invade your space, not to conquer your worlds, just to make absolutely certain that attacking Earth would be the last mistake you ever make. You're threatening us, Thrazik said. No, we're protecting ourselves. There's a difference. Admiral Chen leaned forward. Commander, I know you read the classified brief from your high command. You know what they were planning to do to us. Population management, resource extraction, labor conscription. They were planning to destroy human civilization, to turn our people into slaves, to strip our world bare. I didn't know, Thrazik said quietly. Most of us didn't know. I believe you. But your leaders knew. And they were going to do it anyway. So we had to stop them. We had to show them that we're not prey, that we're predators too, and that attacking us would cost more than they're willing to pay. The timer showed 5 minutes remaining. Your battle fleet is still heading toward the Threshold Nebula, Admiral Chen said. 120 warships, thousands of crew members, good soldiers, I'm sure, following orders, doing their duty. Just like you, she paused. In 5 minutes, your hour will be up. If your high command hasn't ordered that fleet to stand down by then, we'll have to demonstrate our capabilities. We won't kill anyone. We'll simply disable one ship. Just one, shut down all its systems. Leave it drifting in space until its support ships can recover it. That's all. One ship, one demonstration, to prove we're not bluffing. And if that doesn't work? Thrazik asked. If they still attack? Admiral Chen's expression was grim. Then we shut down the entire fleet, and we do what we have to do to protect Earth. I don't want that, Commander. I truly don't, but I will do it if necessary. Every human in this fleet will do it. Because we're defending our home, our families, everything we love, and we will not let your hegemony take that from us. The screen went dark. The timer showed 4 minutes. Thrazik's hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. His knuckles were white. 4 minutes. That's all the time left. Communications, he said. Any response from High Command? Nothing yet, sir. Keep monitoring. Alert me the second anything comes through. 3 minutes. Krenvor spoke up. His voice was quiet, subdued, very different from his earlier anger. Sir, do you think they'll really do it? Shut down one of our ships? Yes, Thrazik said simply. They've already proven they can. Why wouldn't they? It just seems cruel to disable a ship and leave the crew helpless, waiting for rescue, knowing they could be destroyed at any moment. It's more merciful than destroying the ship outright, Silaran pointed out, which they could also do. I know. Krenvor trailed off. I thought we were the dominant power in this region. I thought we were unstoppable, and now I find out we're not. It's hard to accept. It's hard for all of us, Thrazik said. But accepting hard truths is part of being a soldier. 2 minutes. Partel looked up from his console. Sir, I'm detecting power fluctuations in the human fleet. Multiple ships showing increased reactor output. Weapon systems charging. They're preparing, Silaran said, getting ready to make their demonstration. 1 minute. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of the countdown timer. Every crew member watched it, waiting, hoping, praying to whatever gods they believed in that High Command would respond in time. 30 seconds. Come on, Silaran whispered. Answer, please answer. 20 seconds. Thrazik closed his eyes. He had done everything he could. He had sent the message. He had warned them. The rest was out of his hands. 10 seconds. Sir! The communications officer's voice cracked with urgency. Incoming transmission from High Command. It's a fleet-wide broadcast. On speaker now. The voice of Fleet Admiral Krathzine filled the bridge. Cold, authoritative, absolute. All ships of Battle Group 7, this is Fleet Command. New orders, stand down all offensive operations. Maintain defensive posture only. Do not engage the human fleet. I repeat, do not engage. All ships are to hold position and await further instructions. The timer reached 0, but nothing happened. The human fleet didn't fire. No ships were disabled. No demonstrations. Just silence. Thrazik opened his eyes. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. They had listened. High Command had actually listened. The view screen activated one more time. Admiral Chen appeared. This time she was smiling. Just slightly. A small, tired smile. Thank you, Commander, she said. You may have just saved thousands of lives on both sides. Your ship's systems will be fully restored in 1 hour. We'll be monitoring to make sure your fleet complies with the stand-down order. If they do, there will be no further action from us. Just distance. And hopefully in time dialogue. What happens now? Thrazik asked. Now we see if your leaders are smart enough to choose peace over war. We'll see if they can accept that humanity is not going to be their victim. And we'll see if two species who are heading toward war can find a better path. Admiral Chen's image faded. The screen went dark. Thrazik slumped back in his command chair. The tension that had been holding him rigid for the past hour suddenly released. He felt exhausted, drained, but alive. His crew began to stir. Quiet conversations, nervous laughter, the sound of people realizing they had survived something that could have killed them all. Krenvor turned to face Thrazik. His expression was complex. Shame, respect, gratitude. Sir, I owe you an apology. I was wrong. About everything. You were doing what you thought was right, Thrazik said. That's all any of us can do. Still, you made the hard choice. The right choice. I should have trusted your judgment. Thrazik nodded. Apology accepted, Krenvor. Silaran was smiling. Actually smiling. We did it. We actually prevented a war. Maybe, Thrazik cautioned, or maybe we just delayed it. Time will tell. Either way, she said, we're alive to find out. That's worth celebrating. The ship's systems began coming back online slowly, one by one. The humans were keeping their promise. Propulsion systems activated. Weapon systems rebooted. Navigation came online. Life support strengthened. The whisper of the void was whole again, functional, ready. But everything had changed. The certainty was gone. The confidence. The belief that the Zelvani hegemony was the dominant power in this region of space. Now they knew the truth. They had seen what humanity could do, and that knowledge would change everything. 6 months had passed since that day. 6 months since Commander Thrazik had sent his message. 6 months since the world changed. The Whisper of the Void now sat in a docking bay at Zelvani High Command. The ship had been examined by every expert in the hegemony. Engineers had studied how the humans shut it down. Scientists had analyzed every system, looking for vulnerabilities. Military strategists had pored over every detail of the encounter. Their conclusion was simple and terrifying. The humans could do it again. To any ship. At any time. There was no defense. No countermeasure. The Zelvani would need decades of research just to understand how it worked, let alone protect against it. Thrazik stood in a conference room deep inside the command complex. Through the window he could see the capital city of Zelvanos Prime spread out below. Millions of lights. Billions of citizens. All of them living under the shadow of humanity's power. The door opened. Fleet Admiral Krathazine entered, followed by several other high-ranking officers. They took their seats around the long table. Thrazik remained standing at attention. "At ease, Commander," Krathazine said. His voice was tired. The past 6 months had aged him. Lines had appeared on his face that hadn't been there before. "Please sit," Thrazik sat. He had been summoned here today without explanation. He didn't know if he was receiving a medal or facing a court-martial. Possibly both. "Commander Thrazik," Krathazine began, "your message 6 months ago was controversial. Many in the High Command wanted you arrested for cowardice, for defeatism, for undermining military morale during an operation." Here it comes, Thrazik thought. The court-martial, the end of his career. "However," Krathazine continued, "your message also saved 120 ships and approximately 15,000 crew members from certain destruction. Our analysts have confirmed your assessment. If Battle Group 7 had engaged the human fleet, they would have been annihilated. The humans could have shut down every ship simultaneously, just as Admiral Chen claimed." The fleet admiral paused. He looked directly at Thrazik. "You disobeyed the spirit of your orders. You questioned the wisdom of high command. You recommended retreat in the face of the enemy. Under normal circumstances, these actions would end your career." Another pause. "These are not normal circumstances. You are hereby promoted to captain. You will continue to command the Whisper of the Void, and will lead our new reconnaissance division focused on human space." Thrazik sat in stunned silence. A promotion? He had expected punishment, not reward. "Sir, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. There's more." Krathazine activated a holographic display at the center of the table. It showed a star chart of the border region between Zelvani and human space. The political situation has changed dramatically. The humans have formally requested diplomatic relations. They want a summit. Negotiations. They want to establish treaties and trade agreements. "They're not invading?" Thrazik asked. "No, they never were. Their fleet was always defensive in nature, designed to deter attack, not to conquer. We were the aggressors, Captain. We were planning the invasion. The humans were simply preparing to defend themselves." Krathazine's expression was bitter, a fact that has caused significant embarrassment for the hegemony on the galactic stage. Another officer spoke up. "Admiral Thelmon, head of Zelvani intelligence. When the humans released evidence of our invasion plans to the Galactic Council, it caused an uproar. Other species that we had colonized or conquered in the past suddenly had proof of our methods. Our strategies. Several worlds have petitioned for independence. Trade agreements have been suspended. The hegemony's reputation has been severely damaged. The humans released classified intelligence?" Thrazik was shocked. "That's a violation of what?" Thelmon interrupted. "Diplomatic norms? We had no diplomatic relationship with them. They owed us nothing, and they released only enough information to prove that we were planning to attack them. They could have released everything. Every secret operation. Every classified plan. Every hidden agenda of the hegemony. But they didn't. They showed restraint, which makes us look even worse." Krathazine brought up another display. This one showed a document. A treaty. The Zelvani Human Non-Aggression Treaty, he explained. It was signed 2 months ago. "We formally recognize human territorial claims. We agree not to conduct military operations within 50 light-years of their borders. They agree to the same regarding our space. There are provisions for trade, for cultural exchange, for mutual defense against external threats. We agreed to mutual defense?" Thrazik couldn't believe it. "With the humans? Think about it, Captain. If the humans can shut down our ships, What's to stop them from shutting down anyone else's ships? The Krell, the Hive, even the ancient precursors if they ever return. Humanity has essentially created the perfect defensive weapon, and now they're offering to use it to protect their allies. The implications were staggering. Humanity had gone from unknown primitives to essential allies in less than a year. Other species have taken notice, Thelmon added. The Tithani signed a treaty with Earth 3 weeks ago. The Confederation of Free Worlds opened an embassy on Earth last month. Even the Krell, who never ally with anyone, have sent envoys to negotiate trade agreements. The entire galactic political landscape has shifted, Krathzine said. And it's because of what you witnessed, Captain. Because of the message you sent. You saw the truth before anyone else. You understood that humanity was not a threat to be eliminated, but a power to be respected. Thrazik thought about that day 6 months ago. The fear, the uncertainty, the impossible choice. Sir, may I ask a question? Of course. Do we know how the humans advanced so quickly? How they developed technology that's decades or centuries beyond ours? Krathzine and Thelmon exchanged glances. We have theories, Thelmon said. Our best assessment is that humans approached the problem differently than we did. We focused on incremental improvements to existing technology, steady progress, predictable development. The humans took risks. They pursued radical ideas. They weren't constrained by tradition or conventional thinking. They also worked in secret, Krathzine added. For 20 years, they built their fleet without anyone knowing. That kind of focus, that kind of dedicated effort toward a single goal produces remarkable results. And they were motivated, Thelmon said quietly. They knew that if they didn't become strong enough to defend themselves, they would be conquered. That kind of existential threat focuses the mind wonderfully. The door opened again. Silaran entered, followed by Krenvor and several other crew members from the Whisper of the Void. They all looked nervous. Ah, excellent, Krathzine said. Your crew is here. They're all receiving commendations as well. Your tactical officer, Krenvor, is being promoted to lieutenant commander. Your second officer, Silaran, is now a full commander and will be your executive officer. Silaran's eyes went wide. Krenvor looked like he might faint. Your crew performed admirably during the crisis, Krathzine continued. They remained professional under extreme circumstances. They gathered vital intelligence, and most importantly, they survived an encounter that could easily have killed them all. The fleet admiral stood. Everyone else stood as well. The mission of your new reconnaissance division is simple. Monitor human space. Not as spies, not as potential enemies, but as neighbors. We need to understand them, to learn from them, to build a relationship based on mutual respect rather than fear. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. The galaxy is changing, Captain. Species that were isolated are now communicating. Powers that were rivals are now allies. And at the center of it all is humanity, a species that, by all rights, should have been easy prey. Instead, they taught us a lesson. They taught us that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the greatest power is the willingness to show mercy. Krathzine turned back to face them. Captain Thrazik, you and your crew will be attending the Galactic Summit next month. Earth is hosting it. Every major power will be there. It's the first time humans have hosted a galactic event. Your presence has been specifically requested by Admiral Chen. She wants us there? Thrazik was surprised. She does. She said that you were the first Zelvani to truly see humanity as they are, not as primitives, not as prey, but as equals. She wants you there as a symbol, a reminder that enemies can become friends. The meeting continued for another hour. Details about the new reconnaissance division, protocols for interaction with human space, intelligence priorities, training schedules. When it finally ended, Thrazik found himself walking through the halls of High Command with Silaran and Krenvor. This is insane, Krenvor said. 6 months ago, I thought the humans were trying to conquer us. Now we're allies? Not quite allies yet, Silaran corrected. But we're not enemies anymore. That's progress. It's more than progress, Thrazik said. It's a miracle. We were headed straight for war. Thousands, maybe millions would have died. But we stopped. We chose to talk instead of fight. You chose, Krenvor said. You sent that message. You took the risk. If I hadn't, someone else would have, Thrazik said. But he didn't quite believe it. The decision had been his. The responsibility had been his. And somehow, impossibly, it had worked out. They reached the docking bay where the Whisper of the Void waited. The ship had been upgraded. New sensors, improved communications, better stealth systems, though everyone knew that if the humans wanted to detect them, they would. Stealth only worked if the other side allowed it. Thrazik stood at the airlock looking at his ship. His crew, his responsibility, sir, Silaran said quietly. Do you think we can really do this? Build a real relationship with humanity? I don't know, Thrazik admitted. But we have to try, because the alternative is unthinkable. What do you think they're like? Krenvor asked. Really like. Not their technology or their military, but them, as people. Thrazik thought about Admiral Chen, her calm voice, her precise words, her willingness to show mercy when she could have shown strength. I think they're like us, he said finally, afraid of the unknown, protective of their home, willing to fight when necessary, but also willing to make peace when possible. We're not so different, really. Then maybe there's hope, Silaran said. The next month passed quickly. Preparations for the summit. Briefings on human culture and customs. Language training. Protocol lessons. The entire crew of the Whisper of the Void became experts on humanity. Finally, the day came. They boarded a diplomatic transport and traveled to Earth, to the homeworld of the species that had changed everything. As the ship dropped out of FTL at the edge of the solar system, Thrazik got his first look at human space. It was beautiful. Orbital habitats circled Earth like jewels, space stations of incredible size and complexity, ship construction yards building new vessels, defense platforms that made Zelvani fortresses look primitive, and everywhere movement, ships traveling to and from the planet, cargo haulers, passenger transports, military patrols. Human space was alive with activity. They've been busy, Krenvor observed. They've always been busy, Silaran replied. We just didn't notice. The transport was escorted by 2 human ships. Not warships, just escorts. But Thrazik recognized the design. They were from the fleet he had followed 6 months ago. Smaller vessels, but still more advanced than anything the Zelvani had. They approached Earth slowly. The planet grew larger in the viewport. Blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds. It looked peaceful, fragile even. Hard to believe this small world had produced the technology that had humbled the hegemony. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It's from Earth. On screen, Admiral Chen appeared. She wore a formal uniform now, decorated with medals and ribbons. But her expression was the same, calm, professional, warm even. Captain Thrazik, welcome to Earth. It's good to see you again. Admiral Chen, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad you accepted. There are a lot of people here who want to meet you. You're something of a celebrity, you know. The Zelvani commander who chose peace over war. That means something to us. I just did what I thought was right. That's exactly why it means something, Chen smiled. Your escort will guide you to the orbital summit station. We'll meet there in a few hours. I'm looking forward to a proper conversation this time, one where I'm not threatening to shut down your ship. The transmission ended. The escort ships guided them to a massive orbital station. It was new, built specifically for the summit. Representatives from dozens of species were already there. As Thrazik and his crew disembarked, they were greeted by a human diplomat, a young woman with dark hair and a friendly smile. Captain Thrazik? I'm Ambassador Williams. Welcome to Unity Station. That's what we're calling it. A bit optimistic maybe, but we like to think positive. She led them through the station. It was impressive. Large. Well-designed. Built to accommodate different species with different needs. There were sections with different gravity levels, different atmospheres, different temperatures. The humans had thought of everything. How long did it take to build this? Silaran asked. 4 months, Ambassador Williams replied. We had a lot of people working on it, and we had help from the Tithani. They're excellent engineers. 4 months. The Zelvani would have needed years to build something like this. They entered a large conference hall. It was already filling with delegates. Thrazik recognized species from across the galaxy. The Tithani, the Krell, the Confederation, even the mysterious Whisperers who rarely attended diplomatic events. And then he saw her. Admiral Chen stood near the center of the hall speaking with a Krell commander. She looked up as Thrazik entered. Their eyes met. She excused herself and walked over. Captain, she said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. It's genuinely good to see you. Thrazik took her hand carefully. Human handshakes were strange, but he had practiced. Admiral, your station is impressive. Thank you. We wanted to make a good impression. She gestured around the hall. Everyone's here. All the major powers. All because of what happened 6 months ago. Because you and I chose to talk instead of fight. You forced the conversation, Thrazik pointed out. True, but you participated. You could have refused. You could have told your fleet to attack anyway. But you didn't. That took courage. Or cowardice. Many in my government still debate which. Chen's expression grew serious. It wasn't cowardice. Cowardice is easy. It's doing nothing. Making the hard choice, the one that saves lives but costs you personally. That's courage. Real courage, a chime sounded. The summit was beginning. Everyone moved to their seats. The humans had arranged the hall so that no species had a dominant position. Everyone was equal. Everyone had a voice. A human man stepped to the central podium. He was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple suit, not a uniform. Welcome, he said. His words were translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. I am Secretary General Martinez of Earth. Thank you all for coming to Unity Station. Thank you for giving us a chance to prove that humanity wants to be part of the galactic community, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as partners. He spoke for several minutes about cooperation, about mutual benefit, about the future. Then he said something that made Thrazik sit up straighter. 6 months ago, we were on the brink of war with the Zelvani hegemony, a war that would have been devastating for both sides. But one person made a choice that changed everything. Captain Thrazik of the Zelvani scout ship Whisper of the Void chose truth over loyalty, peace over orders, lives over pride. Captain, would you please stand? Thrazik felt every eye in the hall turn to him. Slowly he stood. This summit exists because of your courage, Martinez continued. Because you showed us that even species heading toward war can find a better path. On behalf of humanity, thank you. The hall erupted in applause, not just from the humans, from everyone. Thrazik stood there, overwhelmed, as representatives from dozens of species acknowledged what he had done. He caught Admiral Chen's eye. She was smiling, proud, like he had done something worthy of respect. Maybe he had. The summit lasted 3 days. Discussions about trade routes, defense agreements, cultural exchanges, technology sharing protocols, scientific cooperation. So many topics, so many possibilities. On the final day, Thrazik found himself alone with Admiral Chen on an observation deck. They stood side by side looking down at Earth. It's beautiful, Thrazik said. It is, and it's worth protecting. That's all we ever wanted, just to keep our home safe. I understand that now. I wish I had understood it sooner. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Can I tell you something? A secret? Of course. We were terrified. The whole time. Building the fleet, developing the weapons, confronting your battle group, all of it. We were absolutely terrified that it wouldn't work, that you would see through our bluff, that we would have to actually fight. It wasn't a bluff, Thrazik said. You could shut down our ships. You proved it. We could shut down one ship at a time, Chen corrected. Maybe 2 or 3 if we pushed it. But a whole fleet? 120 ships simultaneously? That was the bluff. We couldn't do it, not yet. Maybe in a few years, but not then. Thrazik stared at her. You couldn't? No, but you didn't know that. And your high command didn't know that. So when I said we could do it, you believed me. And that belief was enough. You risked everything on a bluff. We risked everything on the hope that you were reasonable. That you would choose life over death when given the choice. And we were right. She looked at him. You proved that the Zelvani are capable of wisdom. Of growth, of change. That's worth more than any weapon. Thrazik thought about all the lives that had been saved, all the destruction that had been prevented, all because of a calculated risk and a hope that reason would prevail. What happens now, he asked. Between our people? That's up to us, all of us. But I think we have a chance to build something good. Something that benefits everyone. The Zelvani have experience, history, stability. Humanity has innovation, energy, new perspectives. Together we could accomplish remarkable things. Together, Thrazik repeated. The word felt strange, but also right. There's a human saying, Chen continued. We came in peace, but we planned for war. That's our philosophy now. We'll always be ready to defend ourselves. but we'll always prefer peace. Always offer the hand of friendship first. And if that hand is rejected, then we use the other hand, the one holding the weapon." Her expression hardened briefly, then softened again. "But I hope we never have to. I hope that what happened between us becomes the model. Conflict resolved through strength and reason, not violence." They stood in silence for a while, watching Earth turn slowly below them. Finally, Chen spoke again. "You should visit sometime, not for a summit or a diplomatic mission, just to visit. See our world. Meet our people. We're not so different from you. We want the same things: safety, prosperity, a future for our children." "I would like that," Thrazik said. And he meant it. When the summit ended, Thrazik and his crew returned to the Whisper of the Void. They prepared to depart Earth system and return to Zelvani space. As they left orbit, Silarin came to stand beside his command chair. "Sir, I've been thinking. About what Ambassador Chen said. About coming in peace but planning for war. That's what we should have done. What we should do. Not assume everyone is an enemy, but not assume everyone is a friend either. Be ready for both." "Wisdom from experience," Thrazik observed. "That's what this whole situation taught us. The price of arrogance. The value of respect. Do you think it will last? The peace? I don't know. But we have something now that we didn't have before. Understanding, communication, a chance." He looked at his crew, at his ship, at the stars beyond. "That's more than we had 6 months ago." The Whisper of the Void jumped to FTL, leaving human space behind. But the memory of Earth stayed with them. The memory of a species that refused to be victims. That turned fear into strength. That chose to make friends out of potential enemies. And across the galaxy, the story spread. The story of the Zelvani scout ship that discovered humanity's power. The story of the commander who chose peace. The story of 2 species who stood at the edge of war and stepped back. It became a legend. A reminder, a hope, that even in a galaxy full of danger and conflict, there was always another choice, always another path. And sometimes the bravest thing anyone could do was choose mercy over vengeance, understanding over fear, peace over war. The galaxy had learned a lesson taught by the species everyone had underestimated. The humans had shown them all that the greatest weapon wasn't technology or firepower. It was the wisdom to know when not to use it. And somewhere on a small blue planet orbiting an average yellow star, Admiral Sarah Chen looked up at the stars and smiled. Because she knew that humanity had finally found its place in the galaxy. Not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals. And that was worth everything they had risked to achieve.